I got this comment on a video I made about the fine-tuning argument a while back. The comment is decently long, so I'll just read the meat of it. The video is linked below if you want to see the whole thing. I don't see a great deal of intelligent design, though. The fact that we only have one orifice for breathing and eating, resulting in literally millions of accidental asphyxiations every year, to me is not intelligent design. It's not indicative of omniscience. The fact that our metabolic rate is incredibly fast and that we really need to eat at least every 2 or 3 days just to have enough energy to move around doesn't strike me as intelligent design. Bear in mind, 28,000 people die of starvation and malnutrition every day. Every day. The fact that the brain, which governs all cognition and ultimately all behavior, is so easily susceptible to damage is also a good refutation against intelligent design. There's nothing intelligent about that. If there was truly an intelligent creator, he would make the brain metaphysical and thus not susceptible to damage. I can go on, but I want to give you a chance to respond. Well, respond I did, or at least I tried, a few times, but the comments I made kept getting so long I figured a video was in order. The problem laid out in the comment itself isn't hard to solve, since you can pretty much just summarize it as, if we're really intelligently designed, we wouldn't be so easy to hurt or kill. The obvious answer to this accusation is, 1, this only becomes a problem if you regard the death of the body as an intrinsically bad thing, which Christians do not. Even if the body isn't killed, but instead it's just maimed or the brain is damaged, the whole point of Christianity is that everything is eventually going to be permanently repaired. 2, Christians believe in immortality, so the brevity of the first phase of our existence doesn't carry that much weight when we're talking about design. So this comment equates being sturdier with being better designed, which begs the question, why would that be the case? Our alleged designer would have designed us for a purpose. If we look at it from a Christian perspective, we are already immortal. If you remove a particular religion's point of view, then we don't know what the purpose of design is, so we can't judge whether or not our frailty has any bearing on it. And if you remove design from the equation, the problem doesn't exist. No matter how you look at it, the issue of human frailty is no indictment on intelligent design. With that out of the way, the argument made in the comment isn't one I haven't heard before. It actually reminds me of a quote by Lucretius, the Roman philosopher. Had God designed the world, it would not be a world as frail and faulty as we see. Now, I don't know if this argument has a name and I don't care to look for it, but I like to call this the argument from incompetence. It basically says that if there is a God, he sucks at his job. The world is a crappy place and an all-powerful God could not possibly design a world as crappy as this one. Now, when it comes to a response to this argument, I'll go ahead and just get the stock Christian answer out of the way, and it's woven into the first few chapters of Genesis. God creates the world, God puts man in charge, man screws up, nature is broken. But honestly, we don't even have to dig into the biblical well for this one, because it doesn't really rise to the dignity of something more complex like the problem of evil. The thing about the argument from incompetence is that it requires a certain level of perceived authority to make it. Here's an example. When I'm not screwing around on the internet, I'm a writer. My education is in English and literature. Therefore, when I read a book and say, this is trash, I'm implicitly invoking the authority bestowed upon me as someone who has studied the craft and knows how it can be done better. Now, some people might disagree with me, but in doing so, they are also invoking some authority as well. The point is, if you're going to accuse someone of being incompetent and you expect anyone to take that as anything more than a baseless opinion, you need to be able to back it up. But the argument from incompetence cannot be backed up. Since none of us are all-knowing or all-powerful, we have no idea how a more intelligently designed world would look. Would it be more hospitable to humans? That would make it better for us, but we're not the only beings on the planet. And I'll point out here that Christians do not believe the world was made for us. It's also important to keep in mind how the world came into being in the first place. So it's not enough to just be able to imagine whatever your better version of the world is. How would you bring it into existence? For example, the comment I read at the beginning suggests a better design for us humans would be to have a non-physical brain that isn't susceptible to damage. But how would a metaphysical brain control a physical body? What's linking them to individual bodies and stopping them from controlling other physical objects? It's not as simple as saying it should be this way, because in a lot of cases we have no way of knowing whether or not these ideas are even possible. And by possible, I mean logically possible, so you can't just play the omnipotence card and everything is dandy. To quote Thomas Aquinas, nothing which implies contradiction falls under the omnipotence of God. And keep in mind, when we do these exercises, we seem to smuggle in the idea that we're just tweaking the universe as it is now. But everything we see was the result of a single moment of creation on the Christian view. What are the initial conditions that would eventually bring your better world into existence? If you can't say, how can you be certain that such conditions could exist? That's the problem we set ourselves when we try to argue that creation isn't done all that well. Proving that statement requires the ability to perceive how it could be created better. In short, it requires omniscience. Otherwise, it just amounts to little more than a gut feeling on your part. I say all that to say, as a refutation of creation, the argument from incompetence is very poorly designed.
Listen to the bass. Listen to the bass. Listen to the bass. Stanley on the bass. Stanley Clark to the bass, bass, bass.